Hello, everyone. This is the Pricing for the Planet week. And today we are talking about business model for sustainability. And, if you remember, if you had a chance to buy this book right here, there is a whole chapter on the business models and, what kind of business models can be used by companies to promote and sell sustainable offers. And it's part of all the assets that companies can develop to really play in the game of sustainability. So today we have a great panel to discuss one of these business model called the Reman business, remanufacturing business. And I know it's wider than this. I know Ron and he's going to tell us later with KB that and Chandler that there's much more than just remanufacturing. But we're going to do a session really to look at remanufacturing as a contributor to profit, but also to the planet, and not just one or the other. And that's exciting because this is traditionally one of the business models that companies, industrial companies, have used before. It's not new to the business. What is new is the fact that Reman is great for the planet and it's great for profit at the same time. So I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves very quickly, and then we'll go right in. Ron, you want to get us started?
I'm Ron Giuntini. I'm a consultant. I work with exclusively B2B OEMs in developing aftermarket business models for their installed base.
Great. Chandler?
Yeah, good afternoon. Chandler Dalenberg. I'm the head of sales here at C&H Reman here in Springfield, Missouri. Yeah, I've been in remanufacturing for about 15 years now, right out of school, working with our parent company, Springfield Remanufacturing Corp., and different divisions of the company in various industries of reman. But $36 billion industry continuing to grow, and there's more and more opportunities popping up with the day.
Right. Thank you. KB?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kamlesh Bhatia. I'm a managing director at Dr. Carlisle. We are a global consulting and M&A firm that helps companies optimize their business performance and enhance the revenue through insights, benchmarking, and strategy. We've got extensive experience in the remanufacturing space. We help companies understand the value of investing in a reman product offering. We help identify strategic partners that you can work with to build out your reman operations. And we also help build processes and policies that are specifically geared towards running a profitable reman operation. So thank you for having me on this in this session.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, welcome. And I'm Stephan Liozu. I'm the co-founder of Pricing for the Planet with Fabian Crow. And we run these events. We had a physical event, a summit in Paris every year. And then we launched this virtual event for people who can make it. So thank you guys. And thanks for all of you to be here today. And by the way, in the book, Ron also wrote a chapter on the Reman business. And we're very happy to have him. So the way we're going to do this, I'm going to chat with Ron on the implication between Reman and sustainability. And then these three gentlemen, experts, will go into the profit side of Reman and talk about the business. So Ron, you ready? Let's get started. I know you write quite a bit about sustainability as it relates to Reman. What's your overall position? Tell us what you know about this.
Well, again, remanufacturing has been around for well over 100 years, in all the different fields. And different sectors of industry use different terms for exactly the same process, okay, right, which is basically the disassembly of a particular asset, removal of parts, replacement of parts, and reassembly, making it the same as almost a new product. So you have the biggest remanufacturers are basically the engine overhaulers. They call it overhaul. It's a legal. There's only three areas that remanufacturing or that process has a legal term. It's aerospace, which is overhaul. That's a legal term. You have the nuclear industry, okay, where they have a specific term of overhaul, remanufacture, and then you have the medical device area, which is relatively new. But outside of that, anyone can call anything remanufacturing.
Right,
Okay,
right. Yeah.
there's no legal term, and obviously Chandler can tell you with SRC that they have pretty high standards, mostly developed by the OEMs in
I
regards for them to do it. So
so I like the definition that you gave, but and obviously then it's a de facto benefit for the planet, right?
yeah,
Because at the end
absolutely.
of the day, you don't produce new equipment, right? That's the premise of the benefit, the sustainable benefits of Reman, correct?
Well, you can see that. I mean, you think of the supply chain. When
Right,
you build something brand new or a new component. I mean, you go all the way back to the natural resources. All right.
right.
Obviously, in remanufacturing, you basically save probably 70% of the material content, 80%. So
Wow.
you're moving from and replacing some of the materials, but you're basically using labor and now even automation in the remanufacturing area. So it's a huge saving and always has been. I mean, it makes economic sense. It's nuts. This has been
Right.
around, like I said, for remanufacturing has been around for 100 years. I mean, some of my example always is Howard Hughes made his fortune on remanufacturing drill bits to go through stone for oil exploration. I mean, it was like, and that was a product as a service. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
around for a while. What drives me crazy is that if you looked at any financial statement, any publicly held company on a 10K, you'll find virtually nothing on remanufacturing. All right, they won't
Wow.
segment
Yeah.
reporting. For example, Caterpillar. It's a $6 billion a year business for Caterpillar. You will never see that on their financial statement. All right. The biggest remanufacturers in the world are actually the U.S. military in their depots. That's a 25 to $30 billion a year business alone.
Wow.
Okay.
But that's great. That's I like that 70 to 80% because this is a huge
Yeah,
footprint reduction.
it's huge.
So like you said, it's been around for a long time, and a lot of the things we say to companies wanting to really pay attention and monetize sustainability is start with what exists, right? If you look at the Reman business, if you look at the equipment as a service business, or even software as a service, all these are really represent opportunities to reduce your footprint, to reduce your use of natural resources. So what is it that it wasn't really put at the surface for many companies? They just don't promote that as a sustainable business model.
And the real driver, I mean, let's get down to the self-interest of individuals.
Right.
Salespeople would rather sell new than used. Okay, it's that simple. All right, think about this. Typical remanufactured, the selling of a remanufactured product versus exchange or lease or actual return is about 70% of new. Typically, that's sort of like the ballpark number. So I'm a sales guy. I sell a machine or a product for $1,000 or $700 for remanufacture. So where are you going to go? That's one of the, I mean, I was working with a client, and that was the root cause of us not being able to expand our remanufacturing business. So what we did was, but our margins on remanufacturing were 2 to 3 times higher than that of new product. So all we
Right.
did was double the commission, and all of a sudden our remanufacturing sales skyrocketed. It was that simple.
Yeah.
It was like,
And then
I'm
you
not a
put a green
genius,
logo
but
on top, and you're in business, right? Yeah.
it's that simple. I mean, it's
Right.
funny, but it's true.
So
So if
I
you
think,
look at oh,
yeah,
sorry, maybe.
I was just going to say, Stefan, I think Stefan and Ron, you guys hit upon a key point here is that Reman has always existed as a sustainable model. I think what's changed in the recent years is that consumers are demanding more of the sustainable product. They want products which are more planet friendly. And it's become a part of all these major corporations. Now, if you look at their ESG initiatives,
Mhm.
sustainability is one of the top priorities. And they're publicly declaring that, hey, we are a planet friendly company, right? So I think it's consumer behavior that is driving companies to become more transparent and advertise the fact that they are offering these solutions more. And and that's forcing. Not every company is in the game of Reman, but if people are looking for opportunities to invest in a circular business model, right? Reman is the best product or the best model to start with,
Right,
right?
right. No, that makes sense. And do you guys witness for example, when you look at the topic of cybersecurity for 10 years, people think, cybersecurity is a nice to have. And it was not a top driver of their value props. Um, it's probably the same with sustainability, but these days, I think sustainability has moved up in the ranking of value drivers. Right, Ron?
The thing is that there's a huge difference between B2B and B2C. Okay.
Right,
I'm a B2B guy. I know nothing about B2C because consumers are not logical. Okay. I don't understand how they work, but it's emotional. But in the B2B world, there has to be a return
right.
on investment on the issue. So there we're seeing people. I just read, to me, was breathtaking change in remanufacturing. Scania, that makes trucks in Europe, has now employed a remanufactured component on their new manufacturing production line. That's a
No.
first that I ever heard. So this could be a major trend where that there are some problems with that because some countries do not allow products to be imported that have been remanufactured. It's
Hmm.
ugly. It exists out there. Okay, that's why Caterpillar had to develop. I think they have 14 remanufacturing shops around the world to be close to their market because they couldn't import remanufactured products. All right,
But Ron,
but
is that a cost play or is that a sustainable play?
it's a sustainable play.
All right.
Okay, and because they were able that they were trying to Scania was trying to be sustainable. All right, and they had a remanufacturing operation for decades, but now they had the confidence that their customer would view this in a positive light
Right.
using a remanufacturing, not as a way to be cheap, okay, but for adding value to the overall efforts on sustainability.
And KB, do you see a lot of reman companies today really promoting sustainability, or it still, like depends?
No, I think it actually hits upon multiple different attributes. Sustainability is definitely one of them, but I think it also offers, Reman offers a competitive advantage in the marketplace for different reasons. The example that Ron was talking about for Scania and engines, one of the biggest issues in the last 4 or 5 years is supply shortages, raw material shortages.
Mhm.
If you already have an install base available and I don't have to spend energy and raw materials rebuilding stuff, building new components from scratch, taking
Right,
what exists out there, I can bring products I can bring products which are more carbon, which require less carbon footprint,
right.
less energy, less resources, and I can get it introduced in the marketplace at a much faster pace, which is a big competitive advantage, right?
Yeah, and as a concluding thoughts for this little section, I would say it should be easy to calculate the value of all these, business model to the planet, but also to customers. So, we talk a lot about value-based pricing or sustainable business model, and I think the Reman business model is a good candidate to apply these value quantification, ROI calculations, and even impact to the planet. So I'm going to pass the baton to KB, and to discuss. We touch a little bit on the planet, and let's talk about the business model itself and the impact that it has.
Awesome. Thanks, Stefan. So, I think it was Ron. You mentioned that Reman is a really big market. It cuts across multiple different industries, right? It cuts across automotive, defense, aerospace, multiple industries. Like if you just deep dive and double click on the global automotive parts market, Reman in the US alone last year was worth about 60 to 70 billion. That's a B, right? And it's a global in the global market. marketplace, it's worth about 120 to 130 million, and it's growing at the rate of almost 8 to 10% year over year. So it's a massive, massive marketplace out there. I would like to, from you as experts, I think we kind of use remanufacturing as a broad term, and you mentioned that in some places it's called as overhaul. So maybe from your perspective, Chandler and Ron, maybe you guys can help our viewers today understand what is really remanufacturing. What are the alternate terms are people accustomed to hearing? For example, hey, is recycling the same as remanufacturing, right? So maybe you guys can share and double click a little bit more into your perspective.
Yeah, with our whole pitch to the market and our constant education with our customer base, we really just try to hammer the fact that look, this really isn't rebuilt. It's not just fixed up to the point of failure. These are completely disassembled whenever they come to our facility. All the wear components such as gaskets and bearings get scrapped out, replaced 100%. All the major components get machined back to the OEM specifications, and then all the testing of the final product is really the same kind of testing equipment that the original manufacturer of those components uses. Like on our fuel room, we've got all the major Bosch testing equipment and hydraulics, Bosch Rexroth. Every engine gets dyno tested at the end of the day to make sure that it's going to effectively work like new or better in a lot of the equipment out there. So that's really the constant education that we're pushing from our side is, hey, these aren't just fixed up to the point of failure. You're getting something that's like new or even better at the end of the day.
I think a key point for Chandler is they give warranties, limited warranties, the same as a new warranty. Okay.
We actually do double, Ron.
Yeah,
we
right.
went to a 2-year warranty a couple of years ago.
That's a testament to the confidence that industrial level remanufacture has, okay, versus mom and pop shop behind a garage somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the word remanufacturing is in a lot of ways rebuilding. It is also recycling. It's recycling components. It's recycling machine units. Right. I guess these are all different terminologies which broadly fall under the word remanufacturing, including overhaul. I think overhaul, as you said, Ron, is quite prevalent in the Department of Defense. That's one of the places where you overhaul weaponry, right? You're trying to upgrade the weaponry using old machines out there.
Well, yeah, they use the term recapitalization. They actually take an aircraft or a tank and they bring it into a depot, completely disassemble it, upgrade it. All right, with all new firmware, you're seeing more and more firmware, new and other pieces of hardware. So you get a product that is better than what went in there. That was original. All right, so remanufacturing can be as originally built, return to that level in regards to reliability and longevity, or you can each upgrade it to what is currently on the production line. Okay, so you can upgrade it there and normalize your install base with what is coming out of production today. Remember, the vast majority of your install base is actually out of production. All right. That's typically all right. So you want to. There's a lot of things you can do with remanufacturing in regards to increase the longevity of the life of an asset, which is on the balance. It's on the balance sheet. Okay, in most cases, some of it can be inventory as well.
Yeah, Ron, piggybacking on that, just from the parts standpoint, I mean, typically when we launch a reman program, we've got years and years of warranty data to understand the failure modes of those new components. So we really call it the gift of hindsight. We can really look at what were those failure modes and put things into the reman process to work out some of those failure modes and make the products even better.
And some of those items could be currently out of production. Right. As well, right? You have all that data. I mean, there's new models coming through, so you have data out of production, but you actually can make it better than what was the last lot being produced. All right.
Exactly right. I mean, roughly a third of our offering, there's no new OEM production
right. Going on. That's exactly right. That's very typical, and that's why remanufacturing in certain, for example, in the mining boom, they couldn't get new production machines out fast enough. So the only way to continue and increase their capacity is the remanufacturing of machines to increase the capacity. I mean, this is really, I mean, it's so dynamic. I mean, I love remanufacturing.
Yeah, we can tell that.
T-shirts.
But KB, I think we came up with a second very big benefit of for the planet is the longevity of assets, right? We talked about not using raw materials for new stuff, but the longevity of assets is essential in the value prop of Reman for the planet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think if you were to map out, right? Hey, for every piece of equipment or part that I'm remanufacturing, I am not doing X, Y, and Z. I'm not procuring raw materials. There is no supply. I'm saving the supply chain effect of procuring the materials. I am basically preventing, mining of minerals and raw materials to procure those materials. So there's an nth order effect of remanufacturing from the planet's perspective, which is a key
Nice.
point.
Some of
Yeah.
our top selling engines are fitting 40-plus-year-old applications still.
Yeah. I worked with the Weapon Systems Command for Marine Corps and the Army. And in our designing of our product, one of the things I brought out was that we had to prove why we could not use a remanufactured item in a particular environment, and that was really interesting. It was it spun their heads around, but it was part of the design process. It was pretty cool.
Let's split this topic into two different perspectives. I think now we've talked a little bit about the benefits of what are the benefits from a manufacturer standpoint to do reman. One of the risks we talked about is, hey, for every product you're remanufacturing, you are selling less of your new product, which might have a higher margin, right? How do you guys get around that argument, right? From a manufacturer standpoint, what is the real benefit from a manufacturer standpoint to get into Reman, and then we can talk about what is the customer's viewpoint on a Reman product, right? I think those are two different perspectives, and it's probably be worthwhile kind of digging into that a little bit.
Yeah, I think the quickest win there, KB, is just you're increasing the overall parts pie. There's a lot of repairs that are occurring out in the marketplace at the dealerships and various people that we service, independent repair shops, rebuilding engines, sending out fuel to be fixed up to the point of failure. So the main benefit for the manufacturer is just selling more parts. And then the dealerships, as opposed to waiting for a lot of these things to be repaired or taking up the 50, 100 hours to rebuild an engine, they're swinging a Reman engine into that piece of equipment, getting that customer back out there and moving on to the next piece.
Yeah, so uptime is it's a huge play on uptime, especially for asset generating machines, right?
Yeah, and then we kind of touched on it too. I mean, if they think more long term with it, getting that reman process in play early on, collecting a lot of those cores allows you to sustain equipment for much longer and really sell that parts business with a lot of those parts that are going to go away from the new OEM standpoint. Like we mentioned, with a third of our offering, there's no new available.
Mm.
What I find to be the best application of remanufacturing is actually exchange programs. All right, because you can sell a remanufactured product, you can loan a remanufactured product, you can send your own unit and get it processed and remanufactured, or you can go exchange. Exchange to me is by far the most profitable because the price has no relationship to your cost in an exchange. It's all about how much a new part would be. Okay. So it's the margins are huge if they can be. All right. I mean, it doesn't matter if your cost is 15% of your revenue. It doesn't matter. Customer doesn't care. They're getting value. And talking back to Stephan, it's a value proposition, an exchange program. So I've developed an exchange program, which was really unique in the construction industry, where we had, about 50% of all construction machines are not sold. They're actually put into daily rental pools. All right. So we had a program with the OEM where we did an exchange. After 3 or 4 years, those machines were beat and the distributor would send back the old machine, and we'd give them a remanufactured machine in exchange. It was really, I mean, the margins were disgusting. But one of the problems of remanufacturing is that the accounting is terrible usually. Okay, cost accounting is a disaster. Financial accountants are worthless in this area, totally worthless. They will destroy a program because they don't understand accrual accounting very well. I don't know what your experience is, guys, but yeah, I have this huge battle with financial accountants. They think I'm nuts because I'm a managerial accountant. Okay, I'm not a financial accountant.
Yeah, that thing you
It's
bring up a
time
very
before.
interesting point. Right. I think one of the key aspects of Reman is, as Chandler probably talk about, is for you to reman something, you have to get the original product back into the hands of the manufacturer. Getting that product back is not simple. Like the concept is very similar to that of a bottle deposit. Hey, when you get beer cans, there's a 10-cent deposit on those beer cans. Many manufacturers, when they sell the product, I think they attach what you call as a core charge, right? So if for things like brake pads, for brake discs, engine components, batteries, anything that can be remanned, people have like a core charge built into the price of the product. And so when you go to get it replaced, right, you get the core deposit back in exchange for that material, for that core that you need to reman. So there's a whole, to your point, there's a whole separate business model around core pricing. Like how do you intelligently price your core in addition to the new product, right? Such that you'll still be competitive in the marketplace, but you are always incenting your partner to to send the core back to you and not leak it into the marketplace so somebody else can take advantage of it, right? Um, yeah, so that's how you account for core, how do you account for core inventory? Those are really complex decisions people have to think about. To your point, but yes, I mean, regardless of the complexities, I think one of the things that we've learned is it is absolutely important to, even if you don't remanufacture, get the core back, right? Don't let the core leak into the marketplace because somebody else who is doing remanufacturing is looking for that proprietary technology to sell their own product on.
Absolutely.
Going also, I think one of the important things that you mentioned, Chandler, was about one of the other benefits from a manufacturer standpoint is that it allows you to not only expand your market size by capturing older machines, but I imagine that for any new product warranty issues, you probably want to use remanufacturing as the remanufactured product to replace the warranty product as early as possible in the life cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah, we get weekly warranty reports just looking at a lot of the newer equipment as well to understand what components are failing the most and try to expedite a lot of the engineering around collecting those cores, getting them here, understanding those failure modes, and taking a product to market that can take care of our customers better in a lot of cases. But yeah, overall core it's the most important part of your entire supply chain in this game. So you need to make the process as simple as possible whenever the dealers are working to get those cores back to the mothership at the end of the day. Really important to have a really good system in place that makes it easy for the dealer to return a lot of those components.
Yeah, Chandler's absolutely right. If you don't have a very, very tight system of getting those cores back, you basically start a bonfire because you have demands for remanufactured, but you have no cores. So then you have to buy new, all
Yeah.
right, and then you have to feed the fire, and it's a disaster. I mean, I ran a business unit for 10 years in aerospace, and we had units everywhere in the world, and I had issues just getting stuff back because they didn't speak English. All right, I had to develop a comic book telling people what to do. It was great. It really worked. It was in multi languages and it's nice pictures. But anyway, to get it back, it's hard because if you don't get him back, like Chandler said, it's a disaster, especially in the B2B area. I mean, it's not like the consumer where you have hundreds of thousands of a particular model out there. Okay, you have thousands, but not hundreds of thousands. So you're missing cores. You're gonna be screwed pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Let's quickly talk a little bit about the customer lens from this, right? I think we did at the beginning of this call. You mentioned, Ron, that remanufactured product tends to be less expensive than the new one. Chandler, you mentioned that on all Reman products, you guys are giving similar or better warranties compared to a brand new component. How do you guys sell? Like, what is the customer looking for, and how do you convince the customer that a remanufactured product is really good for them? Like, how do you get that message out?
Yeah, I think the warranty is probably one of the strongest parts of that value proposition, along with the price point that we're able to offer. So I think in a lot of cases where they have those local repair options that might be cheap, that Reman's at a price point with a great warranty that gives them some peace of mind that allows them to say, you know what, let's just change out the part and I'll do the warranty along with it. So I think that's really big. And it overall, if you have a really robust Reman program, you're reducing that total cost of ownership for that end customer at the end of the day. So the added benefit for a manufacturer is it makes your new equipment a lot more marketable. If a lot of your customers know that there's going to be a Reman program to follow where they're getting the components at much better price points than if they bought a competitor's piece of equipment.
Yeah,
Right.
it depending on the industry. Every industry is a little different where there's tremendous value. For example, I did some work in the engines that are manufactured to drive the pumps for natural gas exploration. These are huge 16-cylinder, huge engines, but they're designed to be rebuilt periodically. All right, so remanufacturing, those components are expected to be remanufactured. All right. And they're rebuilt because their whole cost model is based upon that. So depending on the industry, it's like just like engines, that they're designed to be overhaul on a periodic basis. The famous power by the hour, program that all the major OEMs have on engines.
Do
So
do you guys see customers asking for sustainability analysis on some of the parts, Reman parts? Do we ask for, like, okay, give me some assessment of carbon footprint, scope management, or it's pretty much a financial or technical discussion?
Yeah, I think with a lot of our customers, primarily we're 80-85% ag with a lot of the Reman parts that we sell into a lot of the farmers out there. So they're definitely green minded, but they really appreciate those two bigger value proposition points on the 2-year warranty and great price points. Get their equipment back out there up and running.
And Chandler, from what I remember about CNH and the SRC Reman facility, I think that it is like you guys use it like as a showcase piece for your customers. Like you bring your customers, you invite them to come to your remanufacturing facility and give them a tour of that facility, right? To get them excited about the processes, what's going on there, seeing how things are torn down, rebuilt back. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that in terms of how, going back to the sustainability standpoint that Stephan was making, that, I imagine for your dealers to see, and maybe for your end customers to come and see how old machines and old equipment is coming back to life. Maybe that's what really excites them to buy some of your Reman products.
Yeah, it certainly helps them connect a lot of dots where they can go back to the dealership and speak to it in a whole new light. We bring in 400 to 500 dealers a year through the facility. A lot of the people from the parts counter, the parts managers, the service techs, and these guys have long memories too on the ag and construction side of the business. If they have one failure 3 years ago, they remember it. So
yeah.
it's really important for them to come in and realize, one, we're not perfect, but two, that there's a lot of tight processes in place as we go through a lot of these various components through the plant to ensure that they're getting a quality part at a very competitive price at the end of the day. But that really does allow them to ask a lot of the production people that are producing their parts. They see the culture, they see the passion, and they see a lot of really tight processes as they come through that they can take back to the dealership and explain to their customers in a much better light.
There is a problem with distributors sometimes. Some of the larger distributors actually set up their own remanufacturing operations as well. The best example is Cat and Fennings. Fennings was the largest remanufacturer of Cat components, okay, and they ended up buying Fennings remanufacturing business unit, and that's how they started really getting to remanufacturing. So, but what's happening is you're starting to see consolidation of distributors. There's economies of scale, and they're getting pretty large, and so they can substantiate putting some industrial size remanufacturing operations within their distribution organizations. So there's some competition there, possibly on the road.
Right. I think we're getting pretty close on time here, guys. So maybe I'll ask you one more detailed question. I think I read somewhere that today, even though Reman and sustainability is on the corporate ESG list for many companies, only 1 in 5 companies actually doing something by investing in a circular economy model. I guess people have a lot of questions, and they're worried about the risks of going into Reman. I think one of the big risks that we talked about, or one of the big obstacles, is most companies are focused on forward deployment of product. They focus on transportation, lead time solutions to the customer. Reman is everything back in reverse, right? Now your energy is focused on getting products back from the marketplace, and it's all about reverse logistics, right? And that's a different ballgame, because now you're dealing with old product, worn product. Sometimes it's hazardous, how you have to deal with hazardous material. What are the kinds of pointers you would give to companies who are on the fence about Reman? And what are the 2 or 3 things you think would be important for them to know about, so that they feel more comfortable about thinking about this as a business model?
You need a good partner that is really good at the reverse logistics side. I mean, I think when we first started this joint venture with CNH back in 2009, we called about 1,000 dealers and just tried to understand what are your biggest pain points around remanufacturing and buying these parts. And core was number one. So we worked really closely with the sister company to develop a really best in class tool where a lot of the dealers can go in this system, and then in that system with 3 clicks of a button, there's a truck to come and pick up those core units at the end of the day. But really spent 5 years refining it with our dealers. We had suggestion boxes, we had an initial launch, and 5 years later, we had a tool that we kind of co-developed with the dealer base to really make it a best-in-class tool for them to return the core side of things. But with SRC having 40 years in remanufacturing, they also know a lot of the ins and outs about a lot of these reverse logistics pieces and cores coming back from the marketplace. But a good partner that really understands it is pretty essential on that side of things.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I was just about to say, where I spend most of my time on remanufacturing is actually talking with the CFO. Okay, and to be honest, most remanufacturing guys do a horrible job telling their story to finance. Okay, they're not trained to do that. They're mostly operational people and sales and marketing. But you've never been brought to the shed and beaten up by a CFO dealing with remanufacturing. It's brutal. Okay, I have scars everywhere. But anyway, if you can't speak to the CFO and tell them the compelling story of remanufacturing, you're not going to get to first base, period. All right. So that's important. And getting the right people to talk about it. You need the CMO to back you because they view that as a revenue opportunity. But again, it could conflict with new sales. All right. So it's complex, but the CFO is the linchpin to convince them that the profitability of Reman overrides the profitability of new product sales. Okay, in regards to their margin. Okay. Anyway, that's where I spend almost all my time getting beat up and coming back and eventually selling remanufacturing.
Yeah, I think you guys brought up some awesome points here. It's about introducing the product at the lifetime and the life cycle of the new product. You have to know exactly when, or approximately when, that product is going to start tailing off, and competition is going to start stepping in, right? So figuring out the right point of introduction for Reman products is key. Chandler, to your point, reverse logistics is huge. It's all about core velocity, because the faster you can get the core back from the marketplace, the sooner you can start the remanufacturing operation. That is the core raw material you need to build a Reman product. I think a third important thing is that it's also about design of the new product, and it's called design for remanufacturing. So you have to work with your engineering and products team such that when they are designing the product for the future, it's got those elements of Reman built into it. Like, you want to design product which will help you, where you can retrofit products down the road, right? And design it in such a way where you don't have to waste as much of the core, and you can easily upgrade it to the next version of the product. So I think that's also like a key design principle people have to start thinking about when they get into the Reman business.
All right. I think I got to stop you here, gentlemen, because we're
Perfect.
out of time. I think, I know more about the Reman business today. I'm sure the people listening to this video also know more. At the end of the day, it's also a sustainability play. There's a lot of components to it, a lot of dimensions to Reman. I want to remind everybody that this is potentially a huge contribution to sustainability efforts. You have to do it right, obviously, and work in teams. But it's only one of the business models that can help a company promote sustainability and bring tremendous customer value to their ecosystem. With that, thank you, gentlemen, and I hope that everybody learned something. And then in the audience, feel free to connect with these experts on LinkedIn or directly if you find their emails on LinkedIn, but continue the discussion on social media platforms. Thank you,
Thank you
and
for the opportunity.
see you
Thank
soon.
you, everybody.
Thank you.